on, guys? Miracle from Word Tech here, and I had a couple requests on doing some coding videos. Unfortunately, my webcam did not work with OBS, so this is what I'm recording it on. But today I just kind of wanted to do an intro to C++ programming. I am doing software engineering at Portland State, so I understand the fundamentals of C++ enough to being able to give certain tutorials. There are stuff that I'm still learning when it comes to C++, which of course I wouldn't tutorialize that, but some of the basic stuff I feel like I am eligible to do that. So starting off, you're probably wondering to yourself, well, what should I use to start programming in any kind of language, whether it's C#, C++, or anything? Typically, I will use Visual Studios. I actually use the Visual Studios Community 2017 for when I'm doing projects through my internship. Otherwise, I will be using things such as like the Linux terminal. I'll SSH into my school stuff, and then this is typically where I'll be doing my programming assignments through here. But I will not actually be doing it through Linux because I kind of want to show you guys a real nice friendly tool, because if you do get into more programming stuff, Linux does kind of get annoying, especially when you have segmentation faults or you need to keep track of memory. Then it starts to get harder on there. But first thing you guys should do is go on to Visual Studios or any other IDE you guys can think of or you guys like. Just go with the Community 2017 edition. I'm going to cancel that. So just go through, uninstall it, and then you guys actually have to download a language package for C++. You guys will be able to see. It comes with C# already, understood, but so build your first C++ hello project in 5 minutes, which is what we're going to be doing. But you guys just have to download the language pack. So typically what Visual Studios will look like is something like this. This is one of my assignments or one of my projects I did at my internship. It's going to typically look like something like this. It's real scattered everywhere, but I am going to exit out of that. And we're going to go up here to the top, and we're going to select new and then new project. And then we can actually build on the project. Maybe I'll just do one project and we keep on building up it as the tutorials go on. But for the first thing, let's just name it tutorial 1. I think I spelled that wrong. I did spell it wrong. And then as you guys see over here, you guys have different language packs. You can do you can write JavaScript, TypeScript, Visual Basic, C#. Fortunately, C++ is my main. I know a lot of people like C#. So the difference between these different languages, as you guys kind of probably wonder, Python, Java, and C#, if I do think so myself, that they are managed memory already by the computer. So basically, there's a thing that we'll talk about later called a compiler, which will go through and it's going to compile all your code to turn into a running program. But the thing with C++ is it's really low level programming, so you can get to the bare bones software and stuff. So a lot of the game engines that you see, a lot of the games that you even play on your PC and stuff, odds are some of it's actually, or most of it is written in C++. So if we go over here after you download the language pack, what you want to do is you just hover over right here on C++, and then we want to do an empty project. So you click OK, and then you'll see up here we're going to have a lot of different things. If we want to include a header file, we can also drag and drop existing files, .cpp files that we have. And then there's a lot of tools which we can go over in a different tutorial, but today I just wanted to kind of get the basics of C++, understanding it. It is going to be kind of more of a boring video because I want to give you guys the understanding of what certain things mean when it comes to the programming itself. So what we want to do is we want to right click, and then we want to go to add a new items, and then we want to go to a .cpp file. So there's two differences, a .h and a .cpp. A .h file is going to contain all your pound includes, all your using namespaces, function prototypes, classes, structs, everything prototype wise, and structs and classes are all going to go into your header file, which later on the compiler will compile all the .h's and .cpp's together to run your program. So we're going to just leave this as source.cpp, and then we click add. So now you're like probably wondering, well, where's all the code at? Where's all the code at? Well, let's just quickly step through real quick. So like I said, it's going to be kind of a boring tutorial at first because I want to kind of give you guys the understanding of what each thing is. So typically at the top of the line, I like to do include. Oh, I wasn't typing anything. If you do pound include, this is going to be kind of, it's not necessarily a library, but it's a .h file where you can find multiple functions. So the most basic one is IO stream, input output stream. So we can do things like cout. Cout is part of the input output stream. But you'll see later on, I'll try using other functions from a .h file and they won't work solely because we don't have that pound include. So like there's other ones. You can basically see there's a whole list of pound includes that you guys could use. So like here, if I go pound include here, look at all these .h files containing many different kind of functions that you can use. So typically, if later on we'll probably be working with strings. So like one of them is string.h, that's another pound includes. There's a lot. There's hashtag or pound includes, sorry I didn't spell that right. C string. There's a lot of different ones there's a lot of different includes that you can use to sort of get different functions, but the most one that we're going to be using probably for the next couple tutorials is going to be IO stream, like I said before, input output stream, so we can get cout, cin, all that good stuff. So next, going down the list, is we want to use namespace. So using namespace together, STD. So you guys are probably wondering what is using namespace STD, and it's not sexual transmitted disease, but it's actually using namespace standard. So a lot of the days, or how I've seen like code for C, not C++'s, people will do this, STD, and then after that they'll write out what they want to do. You see like this, how it's popping up there, STD and then colon cout. Well, with using namespace STD, it knows we're using that namespace, so we don't have to do that. We can just simply go cout, and it's going to know right away what we mean. So there's different using namespace STDs. Typically, I don't work in any other one except STD for the projects that I'm doing right now. So there's many different ones that you guys could use. Typically, I just stick with using namespace STD. It's using the standard, which means that it's the most standard way of C++ with kind of just namespace wise. So going on to the next thing is we have our int main. So the big thing about programming is that basically your program is just a whole line of functions that it's just basically multiple functions that get carried on through the computer. So the most basic one is int main, which everything will be going through your int main. So even if you make other functions, so say if I wanted to make a function prototype just called add, and it doesn't pass in anything, then you would want to run add inside of your function, inside of your int main, sorry. Then you want to be running add inside of your int main. So everything is going to be going through your int main. Now with a function, I won't talk about it yet, but there's something called a return type, which each function has a return type. If it doesn't, then it returns void for no return type. And as you guys can see, int main is returning an int, which is an integer. So the thing about an int is its whole number. So 1, 2, 3, all the way up to infinity. And you guys are going to be able to see going on through these tutorials, there's going to be things like floats, doubles, like a floating point integer. If I went float and then just put num equals, I could do 4.2, and you can get a number like that. But if I went int num equals 4.2, it would still work, but the thing about not with integers are it's going to round down. So if I have a 4.2, it rounds to 4. If I have like a 4.6, it rounds up to 5. So going on, like I was saying before, every function carries its own return type, and here you guys will see that the return is 0. So what this means is after your program is done running, it's going to return back to the function saying that it's 0, and it's going to kill the program right away. So if we went up to here, it says local Windows debugger. We don't want to do that. You just hold control and then you hit F5, and then we want to build a solution. And as you guys are going to see, it compiled everything. We didn't get any errors, and then right away the program exited. So if we wanted to see what we were trying to see, like how I wanted to see what we threw up on the CMD prompt, what you want to do is just system pause. And then after that, we'll be able to see that we didn't put anything into our program, but we just have to do this. After we press any key to continue, then the 0 comes back up to the return type for int main, and then we close our program right away. So you guys are probably wondering about the different spaces. Does spacing matter in C++? Spacing does not matter in C++, so I can have this go down another 20 lines and the compiler isn't going to be thrown off or anything. The compiler is going to think it's the same exact thing. There are different ways you can do things, like you guys can do a one-liner. Like what we're doing right now in C++ and my classes are like a binary search tree, and a lot of the times is you can see that a lot of it is almost like one-line code, but like you guys can do one-liners, but I'll get into that in another tutorial. I don't want to jump too ahead of myself. But basically you guys can see what I'm talking about. Above here, int main. Main is a function and it's going to be ran through the entire program. As soon as it gets down to here, knowing that your program ran all the way, then it goes back to return 0, and then we just kill the task. So let's do the most basic program. I know this is a pretty boring tutorial for right now, guys, but it's really important that we sit through this and talk about it. So cout is what we're going to be throwing to the buffers. You guys are going to see it's part of the IO stream library, and sorry, part of the IO stream pound includes, and it's part of the namespace std library. So as you guys can see up here, remember how I talked about before, you had to do std scope and then cout. If we didn't include this std above, then we would have to do that. But luckily, we just have to do cout. And then there's two different things here. It's called the extraction operator and the insertion operator. The extraction operator is what we're going to be using to be bringing in input that we take in from the user. So if I wanted to see in something, see in again is part of it. As part of our std library. This is how we would want to see in with the extraction operator. We want to extract the data from the user, and then after that we have cout, and this is the insertion operator. Here we're inserting into our buffer or into the command, and then after that you want to do a you want to do quotes. So there's a difference. If you went a single quote and you typed out a name, you guys are going to see, well, oh, the compiler is throwing off an error. What's going on? Well, you guys probably know a single quote is actually only for one character. So if I just wanted an output in H, put system.pause so we don't exit right away because we're not taking in any kind of input, then you'll see right away, oh, we got H into our buffer right here. But you'll see right here, as soon as I exit out of this, if I put hi, the compiler is going to get, actually didn't get thrown off there. Hi, my name is. You see it's going to get thrown off right here. We click Control F5. Oh no, we got an error. What's going on? And then it says too many characters down here in your errors. This is a really good thing. It's Intellisense built into the IDE, but sometimes the Intellisense can be really shady and it can be really sucky, where the point that you actually have to restart. You have to restart the IDE, and there's been some times that where I do some kind of programs that I actually start messing around with the memory and I don't deallocate my memory, and just the compiler and the computer itself gets thrown off because I'm accessing memory that I have permission not to. So as you guys can see here, line 8, it's going to tell you where you messed up, and it's going to give you the error right here. So too many characters in a constant. So whenever you guys see this, just know it's supposed to be double quotes. So we're going to do the most basic one, the hello world, the first program any programmer does. And I almost forgot the parens. So whenever you do a cout, you want to have extraction and then extraction right away. And then this here is your end line. This is basically saying that I want to end this line and go to the new line. So if I didn't do that and I just went solely like this and we ran the program, look at it, it has hello world, hi world, and then the press any key to continue. We don't want that. It looks ugly. So that's why we want to add that end line, which will give us that result like how we had before. Hi world, press any key to continue. Now there's different things that you can add into your cout. Like you can do tabs. You can do tabs like this. If you want to tab over onto your output, you can do this, or you can do a new line. So in the next program, in the next tutorial, I probably will be talking about for loops possibly. So say if I wanted to output 5 different new lines like this, and then we do control F5, and you can see the press any key continue came down here while we had hi world all the way up to here. So that's just inserting a new line. Now for the next tutorial, I probably will talk about for loops and stuff, which are pretty cool when you get into that kind of stuff. But okay guys, now going on to a semicolons, or basically an end of statement in C++. If I were to take off these semicolons, we are going to get an error from the compiler telling us down below here it expected a semicolon. And like I said, if we run it, would you like to run the last build before that was successfully compiled? And it's going to say right here, syntax error missing. And if we go over here on the line 12, and basically what you're telling C++ is when I add this semicolon here, I'm done with this line of code, I'm done with this statement, move on to the next line. So what you guys are probably thinking, well, it's going to go down to the space, but remember how we talked about before, C++ is fine with whitespace. If I did C out and I tabbed this guy all the way over here, you're going to do control F5 and it's going to still say hi world. Now what I even think you can do is, this is real bad habit, please, if you guys are going to program, do not do this. I believe you guys can, I haven't tried this before, but you guys can also put all your code into one line, which like I said before, do not do this at all. You're gonna get, if you do this in a school class or anything, you're just gonna get laughed at. So if we did this, you guys can see we can do this all in one line. But this is, if you want to like get back, if you're at work or somewhere and you just want to make somebody mad, then you just want to add one line of code, put your whole program in one line of code, you can do that. So you see, look, hello world, hi world, hello. You can do that all in one line because you know why? Because we have the semicolons. After the compiler and the program goes, it notices the semicolon, it knows to execute the next thing, and we execute the next thing. But the proper way of doing this is you want to have everything, each line of code that executes, you want to make sure you have proper white spacing and that it does exactly what it does. So when C++ runs, or when it compiles and you run your program, basically it's going to do this. It's going to start here at number 1 and it's going to go through each line of code. So it's going to step into main, it's going to run this, then after that it runs this, and then it's going to run this, and then after we press continue, which is what this kind of function does, not necessarily function, we go to return 0, it pops back up here, and then it knows to kill the entire program. That's really how C++ is ran. If you wanted to say hello world first, or hi world first, and you put hello on top of that before, well, the compiler is going to go through line by line and you're going to run your program line by line and it's going to say hello before hi world. So it does matter whenever you do things in certain order. And what I'm doing in school right now, like binary search trees, linear linked list, recursion, doubly linked list, it's really important because all of that requires traversal, and if you don't traversal right, or you have one line before another line, you can just completely core dump the program, segfault, everything. It's really bad. So guys, let me know what you guys think about these C++ tutorials. Today we just did a basic hi world function and just kind of getting you set up with C++. This is a really powerful language. If you can really understand this language and get a grasp of it, then you can basically learn any language. Like I just took up Java and I'm understanding Java really easy because the things that make programmers as good as they are, it's not the knowledge of the language, it's just how programmers think. I watched an interview of some guy from Harvard who had a PhD in computer science, and he was saying that the thing that makes programmers so good are not because of, you can train anyone to be a programmer, but you can't train anyone to think like a programmer. So a lot of problem solving questions, it's really what brings a good programmer to a bad programmer. I can have someone that's really good at programming and they know 80% of C++, and I know someone who can't really problem solve and they know 100% of C++. If you can't problem solve the problem when you're doing coding, you can't figure out why a certain thing is doing this, it's just going to be really difficult for you to be a programmer. So guys, if you guys enjoyed these tutorials, please let me know. The next one will be more fun, I promise. We'll be able to do some CNC outs to the buffer and stuff. So guys, if you guys enjoyed the video, hopefully on the next one I will have a webcam on. But guys, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up below, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.